The year is 2003, and in the NBA world, a lot happened. After winning NBA championships in 2000, 2001, and 2002, the Lakers will fall short to the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference semifinals. And Tim Duncan and the Spurs go on to win the NBA championship, beating the New Jersey Nets in 6 games, sending David Robinson out in style. And for Tim Duncan, he was awarded his second Finals MVP in his short career thus far. But as a legend was being born, we got to say goodbye to arguably the greatest player of all time. Maybe not arguably. Michael Jordan announced his retirement this season and said goodbye to the NBA world. Well, you know what they say, out with the old, in with the new. And in this year's draft class, we saw LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and Dwayne Wade go in the top 5. Then there's me. I was supposed to be a top 5 pick myself, but due to some unfortunate circumstances, I fell short. But some would say, I fell to the right situation. And excuse me, my name is Cory Wells, if you didn't know me already. I attended the University of West Virginia, and during my junior season, I balled out. My first 2 years, I came off the bench, but in my 3rd year, I doubled my scoring average, averaging over 20 a game, got my name mentioned with the likes of all the top prospects, and while I was sure that I was going top 5, I'm right where I belong, New York City. It's October of 2003, and I'm ready to make my NBA debut on the road. We're in Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia to be exact, and I'm in for a treat. I get to see White Chocolate Jason Williams versus New York City legend Steph Marbury, my teammate. And after going from being the guy at West Virginia, I'm right back to the bench like I was my freshman and sophomore season. I'm sitting behind guys like Penny Hardaway and Steph, not to mention Allen Houston. So I'm watching this game, low-key bored. Look, it feels like I got a taste of stardom last year at West Virginia by scoring all the points and being that guy. So coming back to the bench was a slap to reality. And in the back of my head, I knew guys like Carmelo, LeBron, and probably even D Wade were getting the chance to start off the rip. But for me, I had to wait my turn behind guys like Allen Houston, who was in the prime of his career. It didn't really seem to be settling down anytime soon. So I had to be patient, watch the vets, and in the huddles, I had to really listen what the coach was saying, even though I wasn't sure when I was getting the game or not. And when my time was called and my turn was up, I stretched, said a little quick motivation to myself, looked at coach and said, I'm good, put me in. And as I was checking into the game, my nerves started to flare up a little bit. I got what I've been asking for. But see, when you make it to the league, everybody knows you're a rookie. And when you're a rookie, they test you. So Shane Battier of the Vancouver Grizzlies thought I was sweet and tried to take it right to me on a fast break. But I held my ground and forced a turnover to Dikembe Mutombo. As soon as we got the ball, I had tunnel vision. I tried to take it right back to him, and for my first career shot attempt, off the glass and missed it. I know coach was disappointed. So on the following possession, I got in the fast break, and in transition, I powered it down for my first career points as an NBA player. A one-handed slam. I told y'all I can get up for a dunk. May not have been nothing flashy, but it worked. But for the rest of the game, I have to admit, I couldn't buy a bucket. And as a scorer, my tendency was to shoot myself out of slump. That didn't work. That landed me right back on the bench, wondering when my minutes would come back again. As I was watching the game from the sidelines, and I finally checked back in the game, I had to settle down and realize I really made it to the league, and I'm playing for my hometown squad, and I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. But it didn't matter too much this game. My shot was just clearly off. I'm talking about wide open jumpers were hitting the back of the rim. So much so, it just had me questioning everything at this point. And I knew I was getting taken out the game ASAP. Coach didn't waste any time. Thankfully for me, my teammates picked up all the slack. And despite my poor shooting performance and game overall, we would get the dub in Vancouver and head back home 1-0. And for me, I got back to the crib and realized, listen, I'm back in my hometown city, and we got our first game at Madison Square Garden of the season. I know the crowd is going to be electric with all my family being there. I'm ready for my debut. New York City, big city of dreams, and I'm back home. And guess what? We playing the Detroit Pistons, who to a lot of people got a lot of hope from winning the championship this season. Some people believe they might be the best team in the Eastern Conference. I'm not one of those people. Now that I'm a Knick, my confidence is through the roof in my team. But I gotta admit, looking across and seeing Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, and Rasheed Wallace was a little intimidating. When I see my guy Steph Marbury coming through the huddle in the pregame, my confidence instantly skyrockets. And of course, I'm starting this game off watching from the bench. While Chauncey would never be my assignment as the point guard, I still was studying his game as well as my guy Steph's. I had to learn how to make an impact on check-in, and I was ready and itching to get in the game for my Garden debut. Coming to these games as a kid, seeing Starks, Ewing, and all those guys ball out against Michael Jordan, my time is finally here. So with the ball in my hands, I wasted no time and got a layup for my first bucket as a New York Knick in MSG. And it felt great. The crowd was hype, the feeling was electric, and I knew my family was proud of me. But very similar to the last game, bruh. After I made a shot, it seemed like I couldn't buy a bucket. And against the Pistons, I knew that wouldn't work. So I had to chill out with chucking shots and let my guys take over, like Steph. When coach would sub me out, I would just be plotting and scheming of what I was going to do when I got back in the game. And this time, I went up for an easy two-handed flush over Ben Wallace, who was one of the elite rim protectors and defenders in the NBA. But I didn't see him at the time. All I saw was myself putting the ball in the basket. And in this game, I finished with 6 points, 3 rebounds, on only 2 of 4 shooting. And we got the dub. And for our season, we got off to a great start. Because after this win, we'll get another win at home, start the year off 3-0. So much so that the New York Times and the New York fans were excited. The city thinks that we're back. Despite my slow start, the team is up right now. And the city is rolling. In 03 in the NBA, there was 3 guys at the 2-guard position that you had to fear for whenever they came to your city. One was AI, other was Kobe, third is T-Mac. There was reason to believe he could have been the most talented out of all 3 of them, especially on the offensive side. About 6'7", 6'8", could get to any spot on the court and rise up over any defender, especially the ones at the 2 position. And for me, on the bench, I'm watching this guy come to our garden and light us up in the first quarter. I'm talking about he dropped over 20 points on efficient shooting, and I'm just sitting there not even itching to get in the game at this point. I thought I was confident, but dang, I knew that was going to be my matchup whenever it was time for me to check in. And even my OGs had their face in their palms. And right here, I saw T-Mac rise over Kurt Thomas and put him on a crazy poster. I knew that was going to be all over the shoe stores in a matter of time. And this dude was incredible. But I ain't had time to be a fan on the bench. Shoot, our fans were tired of being fans at that point. I knew I had a job to do when I came in the game, just to show no fear, stretch up, and get ready to guard up. Because this man was a problem. The only problem is for me, I'm only 6'4". And I didn't realize how big of a height difference it was, going from 6'4" to 6'7". Imagine all these thoughts running through your head at the scores table, getting ready to check in the game. And they gave the ball to me off the rip, and right on cue, this man T-Mac is guarding me. And while I tried to make a simple post entry pass, he picked it off. And in transition, this man hits a series of tween dribbles, has me backpedaling, and when I think he's going to the basket, he pulls up for the 3-pointer and cash. Right in my face, in the garden. And I couldn't do nothing but sit there and sulk. But in the meantime, I say, you know what? The way I was raised, I'm gonna come right back down court and rise up myself. And it wasn't a 3, nor was it over T-Mac. But I just shot it to redeem myself. But on the other side, T-Mac sought me out on defense. I guess he thought he had a lick on me. And he was right. Bro took it right to my chest with the layup. And I have to admit, I didn't see it, but I felt like he stared me down after he made the layup. So my natural instinct was to come back and destroy him. Only problem is, we not on the city of New York and in the parks. We in a real NBA game with a real NBA defender. And he was boxing me up. But the team just let me continue to dribble, so eventually I got around him after he fell asleep on defense and postered his center in the paint. When he stepped off, I stepped up for the slam and the garden erupted. Look, T-Mac was torching us, no doubt. I'm just a rookie. But I felt like in that moment, I had a chance to display my confidence and my never back down ability. I even smiled to myself thinking, hey, he going out the game right now, ain't he? Maybe this is my chance to step up and take over this game. So as soon as he hit the bench, I didn't know who they had guarding me, but I knew it was sweet. I rose up for the easy mid-range, and the team was feeding me. But little did I know the T-Mac would check right back into the game as soon as I got another bucket. I guess that's the weird competitiveness in him. I gotta respect it. And right back on cue, he was boxing me up, but the team continued to feed me. But as the shot clock was winding down, and my options were few, I had to force up a terrible shot, and he was right there barely having to jump and set me back to the bench. The only thing I could do over there was hope that my team could squeak out yet another dub, despite me not really performing as well as I want to. At one point I checked back in the game, and I thought things were sweet in the paint. I rose up and got sent back by Juwan Howard. Now at this point, I felt like this was one of my welcome to the NBA moments. That was one of the most disrespectful blocks I've ever had done on me in my entire basketball career. And as I was headed back to the other side of the court, I could already hear that whistle blowing. I knew my time in this game was over with. Coach put me right back out the game. Despite the blocks I had a pretty solid performance, I could say myself. Obviously my best game of the season to date. I dropped 8 points, 4 of 8 shooting. But I had to still shake my head. I couldn't help my team secure our dub. We lost the first game of our season, the T-Mac. I have to admit, I love AI, and I haven't been against Kobe yet. But if you telling me there's a better guard than T-Mac in the league right now, I might be in trouble. We only about 5 games into the NBA season, but I had to check and see how the other rookies were doing. As we know, I was supposed to go top 5 in the draft, but things didn't work out. But the other guys that were ahead of me were all starting and doing well for their teams, like Carmelo. It seemed like Denver gave him the keys and let him be the scoring threat he was in college. I gotta admit, I love to see that. Out in Ohio, the whole city of Cleveland gave LeBron the keys and said, listen, hometown hero, lead us to the promised land. The dude from Akron, 18-year-old, probably more athletic than 90% of the league right now. And with Jordan retiring, they're facing the NBA is in good hands with these dudes. I'm hoping to be up there with them. But for right now, LeBron might have the best situation out of all of us. He may be surviving off his pure athleticism right now, but if he gets a jump shot, look out. And in Miami, the guy that got taken ahead of me, where I'm supposed to be at, Dwayne Wade. As much as I hate to admit it, he's also been hooping. Miami put him in a starting lineup surrounded by other vets. You can see the future is quite bright. And with his killer pump fake that he's already started to develop in the league, and with his speed, he can score 25 on you in a flash. Me in Cleveland, Ohio for the biggest game of my career thus far. I'm going against the aforementioned LeBron James, and at the beginning of the game, he came out on fire. I'm talking about windmill slam dunks that you just don't see in games like that. Vince Carter-esque. And for me, I already had my face in my palms, bruh. But I had to shake that off as coach would call my name early. With Cleveland having Big Z and LeBron down inside, I knew I had to go to work on these guards. The only rough part about being in my position is watching the other rookies demand the ball on offense. But as for me, I gotta play my part. I may go minutes without seeing the ball, running baseline to baseline trying to get good cuts. When I do have the ball in my hands, best believe I'm making the most out of it. In this game, that started off with a smooth layup, and in transition I get a steal. Of course I ain't pulling no 3, but I see my boy Kurt Thomas cutting to the basket for an easy assist. As soon as I started to get a little rhythm going, we go to matchup of the century, in my head at least. LeBron stepped out to guard me, and while he was clearly bigger and stronger than me, that didn't really faze me much. He started to box me up a little bit, so I gave the ball to Dikembe, who gave it right back to me in a favorable position. And I had LeBron, who was not moving in front of me. So I decided to hit him with a little left or right cross, and while he bumped me, I rose right up over him for the easy mid-range bucket. And at that point, I felt like I could score over anybody on this team. I was already on pace to have my best career game, and Bron had his jumper working tonight. For a minute, we was going back and forth, until this possession where I decided to rise up over Darius Miles and dunk all over his cornrows. And this might have been the best dunk of my early career, as I rose up with one outstretched arm and hand and slammed it. And in front of the Cleveland crowd and the NBA fans alike, I knew this was a big moment in my early career. Listen, I wasn't getting all the minutes of the top 5 picks, nor all the points, but I felt like my time was coming soon. And I got to play for my hometown team and my hometown Threads. Who got it better than that? Oh, well, LeBron does. And at the end of the game, we was down 3. If LeBron hit 1 free throw, the game would basically be over with. And after missing the first, he would squat down, rise up, and brick the second. So in transition, we got a chance to tie the game with a 3 at the end of the game. Allen Houston would pull up and brick. Game over. Just like that, I lost chapter 1 of my matchups versus Bron. I knew we had a couple more to go this season, so I wouldn't stress. Regardless, I knew this was going to be a matchup for me that I had circled every time. And LeBron got the best of it this time for sure. Who knows, he might get the best of it forever. But I wasn't going to be one to back down from a challenge. And for me, I performed as best as I could. I dropped a career high 13 points, career high 3 assists, and 4 rebounds. And while it may seem outlandish to most, and pretty unrealistic, I'm out to prove that I'm the best rookie in the 03 class.